It began quietly, almost invisibly, as a Cold War calculation made thousands of miles away, but it escalated into one of the most destructive and morally complex wars of the modern era, leaving Vietnam shattered and the world permanently changed. The Vietnam War, spanning roughly from 1955 to 1975, grew out of the collapse of French colonial rule in Indochina and the deepening ideological struggle between communism and capitalism, as Vietnam was divided at the 17th parallel into communist North Vietnam under Ho Chi Minh, supported by the Soviet Union and China, and anti-communist South Vietnam, backed by the United States and its allies, who feared that the fall of one nation to communism would trigger a chain reaction across Southeast Asia under the so-called domino theory. What began as limited American military advising gradually escalated after the disputed 1964 Gulf of Tonkin incident, giving Washington justification to launch a massive intervention that eventually sent more than 2.7 million U.S. troops into the conflict and subjected Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia to relentless aerial bombardment, making the region one of the most heavily bombed areas in human history. Despite overwhelming technological superiority, including B-52 carpet bombing, napalm strikes, helicopter warfare, and the widespread use of chemical defoliants such as Agent Orange, more than 20 million gallons of which were sprayed across forests and farmland, the United States and South Vietnamese forces struggled against a highly motivated guerrilla enemy that relied on tunnel networks, jungle terrain, local support, and patience to outlast a foreign power fighting far from home. The human cost was staggering. An estimated 3 million Vietnamese were killed, the majority civilians, along with more than 58,000 American soldiers and hundreds of thousands wounded, while millions of others were displaced, orphaned, or permanently injured, and generations continue to suffer from birth defects, cancers, and environmental damage caused by chemical exposure and unexploded ordnance. Entire villages were erased, ecosystems destroyed, and economies crippled, while neighboring Cambodia and Laos were destabilized by secret bombing campaigns that contributed to future genocides and regional chaos. Beyond Southeast Asia, the Vietnam War shattered the illusion of Western military invincibility, emboldened revolutionary movements worldwide, altered Cold War strategy, and forced powerful nations to reconsider the limits of military force against determined local resistance. When Saigon fell in April 1975 and Vietnam was reunified under communist rule, the war ended not with triumph but with silence, grief, and unanswered questions, leaving behind a legacy of human suffering, environmental devastation, and political reckoning that continues to influence international relations, warfare, and the moral judgment of power to this day.